guys? Tambo here with your weekly core report. It's a big week for Run Pure members across both NBA and NFL. Let's get into the winners. In the NBA streets, Hole 800 turned $12 into 4K. C. Corms turned $76 into 4K as well. Leroy hit for $4,600, while Y Guy 223 shipped for $12,000. Our guy AP joined in the fun, hitting for $8,000. Turning to NFL, it was another great week for us, especially when it came to Showdown. I parlayed my appearance on our premium Thursday night Print Factory show into 61K, featuring a lineup with Dallas Goedert in the captain spot. RPS coordinators were all over the Goedert captain play, appearing not only in my premium attack plan, but Mangone pushed it as well, helping Nadesify ship for over 67K, while Pete Vegas hit for $7,200 over on FanDuel. But the biggest hit came on Monday Night Showdown, where RPS content was all over Kenyon Drake in the captain spot. Captain Drake was pushed on our free Showdown show by special guest Chris Randone, in addition to our Talking Touchdown show with Spread, Tyler, and Title, where Tyler called his shot, nailing the Drake call ahead of shipping $29,000 for himself.
75% of carries, like he's going to be unowned, like low owned because of his price. He's got to be even more low owned as a captain because his price jumps even more. If he scores 2 touchdowns in this one, you could be golden. Guys,
if you have not subscribed to our free YouTube channel, take a second right now and get it done. Racer 1A joined in with a 10K hit from Showdown. Kanoski 69 hit for 22K as well. Locks rode Drake Captain to a 30K score to continue his heater, while I shipped 2 more King of the Beach seats. But the biggest win was by Run Pure member Homebrew, who hit the perfect unique lineup, solo shipping for a monster $500,000. He joined our NFL First Look show to talk about his big night.
Randone just mentioned at the end of the show, the very end, it was the last lineup I made. It was the end of the show, and he said, Kenyon Drake, captain. And I was like, well, I don't have one of those. Let me make one of those.
Congrats again to all our members. If you want to be featured in the core report, drop your winning lineup in the Members Never Win channel in our premium Discord. If you're not a member, join now. You won't find a better value with all sports included for one low price. And while you're watching, hit that like button right now. Remember, if you're not winning with us, you're watching us win. Until next time, let's keep running pure.
What is going on, everyone? AP over here at Run Pure Sports, bringing to you the lineup building show here with our partner Sabersim. I got my guy Jordan. Jordan, what's going on today, man? How's your Thursday going?
It's good, man. I'm excited. I think this will actually be a pretty interesting slate to break down here today. Looking forward to it. Yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun one. We're going to cover the Showdown slate tonight. Falcons at the Panthers, and what's the Hurricane? Nicole, is that the name? That's kind of, I think the outer bands are going to be kind of reaching into that area, which will bring in some wind and some rain and make things a little bit more fun in the Showdown streets. Do you have any initial, before we dive into Saber, we'll bring up the screen share and anything. Do you have any initial thoughts? This is going to be a true first look for me. I am now just diving in, so it's going to be fun walking through the process and everything. But do you have any initial thoughts just with the weather and then, the matchup or, anything on the surface there?
I think it's an interesting game, and I'm really interested just to see how the field plays this one. I think on one hand, we've got 2 bad teams. It's a 42.5, something like that point total, middle of November, Thursday night football game. I think there's kind of an angle that you could say that the field's going to go to the defenses, hope for a lower scoring game. These teams also played each other 2 weeks ago. I know that was in the Dome, a little bit of a different situation, but they combined for like 70 points in an overtime game 2 weeks ago. So neither team can play defense very well either. I think there is a bit of an angle where these teams, even in the rain and the wind, managed to put up some points. So there's a couple names on these teams that I like. I think these teams are this point in the season trying to, see what they've got with some of these younger players. I think there's a couple actual individual plays that I like quite a bit. So I'm really interested. I think there's a couple different angles on my end of the way to play this. I'm really interested to see just how the Sims are looking for this game and what Sabersim kind of likes right out of the gate. And then we'll see what we end up with there on the other side.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, let's just cut to it. Let's get to it. Let's see what the Sims are telling us. We always like to start with what we call a base build. I'm going to do it, but walk everyone through, Jordan, kind of what we're doing with this base build and how to do it. And I will just, follow your instructions, just because I know each and every week we're going to get a lot of new users, people that haven't used Sabersim. I get a lot of DMs just about basic questions. So we always like to start off with this first build using the cache settings, right? Or what you tell me what to use, and I will click the buttons. Let's
do a cache build first. So you'll click build lineups. We'll go ahead and put it into cache mode. I think, building probably 500 is probably sufficient here. And what we're getting in cache mode, right, is we're basically using Sabersim.
Just like this?
Change that pool size to 500 there.
Okay, 500. All right.
Yeah, let's just get a few more lineups in there. And what this does is this is using Sabersim the same way you'd use another optimizer. It's just taking the average projection, building the top optimals, right? Cache lineups, if you were playing cache, not something I would necessarily recommend for Showdown, but if that's what you're looking at here. And what this is going to do is it's going to show you the kinds of lineups that most people are going to get if they were using other optimizers and just hitting build. I think this can give you an idea of what just the highest projected optimals are. And then that's where the pivots start to kind of come in from there. You can see, well, if I play a different captain or a different construction, I'm getting a little bit different from what the field is going to do. So I think what we should do. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say right out of the gate, I like using this in my articles I do now just to get an idea of who is likely to be the most popular player at the captain spot. And what that helps me do is decide if I want to, get overweight on that guy, lock him in, whatever, or if I'm going to fade him, it allows me to now think, okay, we know Marcus Mariota likely to be a very popular captain option tonight. Mm-hmm. Is this someone that we are going to, get overweight on, or who can we go to fade? So it helps me just get an idea of what the slate texture is looking like.
Yeah, bump that number of lineups there from 20 up to 500. Let's look. I want to look at the full cache pool here and just see all of these lineups. Yeah, so this can kind of give you a little bit more of an idea here. So yeah, Mariota soaking up almost 50% of the captain usage in the cache lineups. DJ Moore pretty popular. Panthers D and then Dante Foreman there as well. It sounds about right. That's kind of, I think, a little bit in line with what the ownership projections would say. I think the one that stands out to me right off the bat is the Panthers defense, just because we have them projected owned at only 3% in the captain spot right now. If they're showing up in this many cache optimals, I actually could see a few more people go in that direction. So
what's also crazy to me is we have, and this is, I think it's BigT tweets it out all the time. Like, it just blows his mind how often a defense is higher owned in the captain spot than a quarterback, PJ Walker down here, and a quarterback that isn't afraid to run. We saw that last week too. He really opened things up. So I think this is going to make for a really interesting showdown slate tonight.
Yeah, agreed. Let's take a look at the stack types or also the team stacks. I kind of just like to see how these are shaking out too. So balanced build probably going to be pretty popular. Yeah, go ahead.
4-2, 3-3. And then very little 5-1, which kind of makes sense when you factor in the projections and where the volume is going to come at on this slate. And then you wanted to see the team stacks.
Yeah, let's go see let's see the breakdown of those 4 stacks and see which team people are getting to a little bit more. So if you click the 4 stacks tab there.
Oh, the 4 stacks. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So kind of split actually. So yeah, it seems like just true balanced builds are going to be really popular tonight. A lot of people playing the 3-3, a lot of people playing 4-2s with either team as the 4 stack. So yeah, I think now we've got a pretty good image of what like the popular constructions are going to be. Marcus Mariota, DJ Moore, captain most of the time with balanced builds, and now we can kind of use that as a framework to get a little bit different.
Is there a way to see how many double quarterback builds we're getting? How many Marcus Mariota and PJ Walker builds? Is there an easy way to see that?
Yeah, you can. So what I would do, I would filter by Mariota here in the captain spot.
Okay.
Since
and then
we're getting so much
yeah.
And then go over to the flex and you can see, so this exposure will be 30%.
30%. Yeah, that's wild. That's insane. Like because it does seem like with the two quarterbacks that we have going tonight, and just given the projected kind of environment, like if I'm playing Mariota, it seems like these two guys have to have some sort of positive correlation. And actually, I believe we can look at that, right? If we just click on Mariota and go right here.
Yep.
And so, all right. So this is, I always like looking at this now. Can you explain this kind of, in layman's terms for everyone? I always think this is really interesting. The bars right here.
This is the range of outcomes for Marcus Mariota according to our sims, basically. So you've got fantasy points at the bottom, and then frequency basically is kind of your vertical axis there. So like how often is he scoring different fantasy point totals? And then down here, what you're looking at with the correlations is in the sims, how correlated are different players to one another, positively or negatively. So quarterback here, we're looking at Mariota. You'll typically see strong positive correlations with, his own same team pass catchers, his own kicker, but also as AP's showing here, a decent positive correlation with PJ Walker as well. What's the game script that has these two quarterbacks throwing the ball, late into the second half and trying to rack up points? It's when they're both putting points up, right? And they got to keep up with each other. You get that shootout. So a little bit of a correlation there. One thing I found interesting,
and that's something that we see typically like in the college streets, college football, in the super flex spot. That's why we're playing quarterbacks against each other, because of that positive correlation. If one's doing well, you get that back and forth environment. Typically the other one's doing well too. I think the other reason though is the rushing upside that both of these guys bring to the table, and somewhat fairly attractive price tags is what's going to have me interested in the double quarterback build tonight. Yeah. What were you going to say also?
I was just going to say, if we go back over to that flex tab one more time, I mean, just to kind of, I think I really like this construction. We're getting more Mariota captain with Panthers D than we're getting Mariota captain with PJ Walker.
Hold on. So, okay. I unchecked Mariota to
highlighting.
So
good.
We're getting, okay. So we're getting here. Let's bring those builds up just to see.
And so I don't think there's anything wrong with this construction necessarily. I think obviously, it makes some sense here on how Mariota could be the optimal captain, and also, the Panthers D has a decent game. But I do think it's interesting that you're getting more Mariota plus Panthers than Mariota plus Walker. I think the shootout game script is going to be pretty unpopular tonight, just kind of looking through this, especially on that Panthers side. So
I always like these 5-1s where you have like Mariota in the captain spot, and then you're running it back with 5 from the other team. I always think that's a unique construction that makes sense when you have a rushing quarterback that can rush in, for a couple touchdowns. And then the other thing I always like doing is, okay, maybe we like this build. Again, this is a first look for me, or we like the concept, but we want to see what other options. I find myself doing this quite a bit. Like, okay, maybe we're under on the defenses tonight. I can real quickly go right here and I can see what what options that we have instead of the Panthers defense there to replace them. So just going into that edit feature that you guys added over at Sabersim is really really nice thing to use.
Yeah, I think we should run a GPP build now here and see like what these lineups are looking like.
Should we do the same thing but a tournament, or are we going to start adding some like changes to it, some bias?
I think we should run a tournament build just blank here and see, unless you want to add anything. And
no, I always like doing this too, and let's use the same settings, except for now we're doing tournament. We're changing the sim diversity up to 10. We're going to do a pool of 500. Now, do you kind of remember the back of your mind what here I'll start this. Mariota was 50% in the captain when we did this. Okay. So it'll be interesting to see how much different it is running it with the tournament settings.
Yeah. And so what's going on behind the scenes here now, right, is instead of looking at the cash optimals, right, instead of highest projected average lineups, we're actually taking single game sims we have. out of the database of thousands of sims we have for this game and building the optimal lineup for that single like play-by-play game script and sim. So these are actual like possible optimal lineups for a single game outcome. And you can see quite a bit different. I mean, at least a lot more diversity here in what we're getting, but also some more variety in the constructions here. So
the first one I see right there is Kyle Pitts. Oh man. All I think about now is the pain that a lot of us that have rostered Kyle Pitts throughout the season have experienced. Maybe he owes us a lot of money. He owes us a lot of money. Maybe we get it back by rostering him in the captain spot tonight. That type of build right there. Pitts, Mariota, Drake, London. I ran that stack last week and it did not work out for me. Because I liked that game. I thought it was going to be a nice back and forth environment, but maybe I have to go right back to it. But okay, Jordan, going through. So, like one thing that we get, or I've gotten this question a few times is like, do the sliders actually do anything? Yes, they do. You can see a massive difference between when we ran it using the cache settings. I think we only had 3 captains pop up. And the overwhelming majority, 50% was Marcus Mariota. Now we see he's coming in at 16%. DJ Moore actually being the highest captain. And I think what's happening is that really makes sense. We've seen DJ Moore, there with PJ Walker. He's been his favorite target. And we're always going to like a receiver at the captain spot when we're talking about upside. Trying to capture as most upside as we can. But talk me through this. Let me know what you're seeing here. Now we have 22 captain people that are players that pop up from our 500 builds that we made, 30 in the flex. What are you seeing here, Jordan?
Yeah, I think one thing we should do right off the bat, let's change that number of lineups back down to like 50 or something here. Then we'll see. Let's look at what those top lineups are sorted by Saber score here. And the reason I like to do this is because that Saber score is going to help quantify how likely these lineups are to be the optimal. You can get a little bit of a different, it looks a little bit different looking at the top 50 by Saber score than it does looking at the full pool of 500. So, so looking through this, I typically like to play a pretty wide pool of captains. So I would be okay going into a slate with 13 captains with a 50 lineup set. I know that you like to tone that down a little bit more there and maybe play a little more condensed.
Which is fine.
It is fine. Yeah. And strategically speaking, so, here's where I'm kind of at. I think there's a couple names that to me obviously pop as guys that have a lot of upside that just weren't showing up in the cash optimals. They're not looking to be very highly owned at captain. I think Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Cordero Patterson stand out to me as guys that I would be interested to go get captain exposure to here. So if this was my build, I think one thing I would probably start experimenting with is just like making sure that I'm getting over the field on those guys. I'd maybe want to be like double or triple the projected ownership at the captain spot for those guys. That's where my head's at. Cause it looks like everybody's going to be on Mariota captain as a pretty popular construction here. It's not hard to see how it ends up being Pitts, London, or Cordero Patterson instead of Mariota there if you're already liking the Falcons offense.
So since we do have a little bit kind of different styles here, which is perfectly fine. Yours is probably more so embracing the variance that comes with Showdown, strategy, Showdown formats. Mine is more so trying to accurately project the game script and just getting very overweight on a subset of players, especially I'm not so worried about the flex. I'm more worried about, I want ideally anywhere from 2 to 4 captains. And that's kind of what I want to do. And this is most slates. Do you have, like, going into it, and maybe you don't, but do you have an idea of how many captains that you're typically trying to identify? That you're going to target?
I don't really have a number. So I'll tell you. So this is typically what I end up doing. So I'll typically build it and just take the captains that I'm getting. I will do a little bit of cleanup. So I don't really like to play low projected captains. So you can see we have one Kadero Hodge lineup. We have one Raheem Blackshear lineup. Even that Shai Smith lineup for 7 points at the captain spot. Those are guys that I might just uncheck at this point just to get the guys that have a little bit higher raw scoring upside into those captain positions. that's one thing I'll do as a little bit of cleanup. And then I will also identify a couple players that I particularly want to get exposure to on a given slate and bump up their min exposure. So for me tonight, that might be Pitts. I mentioned Pitts, London, and Patterson are 3 guys that stand out to me that are a little interesting. So those are kinds of things that I might start doing here. But if that means I end up with 10 captains and 50 lineups, that's fine by me. I don't need to condense much further than that.
Yeah, I like that. Let's do this. Let's go back. Now we have an idea of what cash game builds are using the projections that we currently have in there, our base setting, and we have a good idea of what the tournament pool kind of looks like. Now let's go. Let's add some bias.
Yeah.
Let's talk through some game script, maybe something that we both kind of agree. So I'm trying to think. We're talking pre-show. The weather could be a factor, but I feel like sometimes people overplay that. Now, my take on weather, it always, brings me back to the golf streets. When you're talking wind, it's not like for the professionals, and I'm thinking more golf right now, but I think it applies for the NFL too. When you're talking 15 miles an hour, it's not going to make that much of a difference. You get up to 20, maybe it starts to impact it. But as that wind goes up, 25, 30, 35, 40 miles an hour, that's where I think more significant impacts happens. I mean, we saw the Ohio State game. I forget who they were playing just the other day. I mean, that game was like a slugfest to begin with, and like they couldn't do anything. And so what I'm getting at is I guess we got to, watch the weather and everything. But like right now, if they're only going to get 15 to 25, type of range, I still think we could see points here. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's still my preferred angle, especially seeing that it looks like the Panthers defense is going to be pretty popular. Like that instantly kind of makes me want to play the shootout angle here a little bit more. And that's the thing is like, when wind is one thing, but if it's going to be kind of just rainy and wet, that affects both sides of the ball, right? Like if the field's wet out there, it's just as hard for the defender to make that cut as it is for the guy with the ball. So I think we could see some points again. I mean, 70 points 2 weeks ago between these two teams. I know it's in the dome, but with a 42.5 point game total, it's not hard for me to imagine the overhitting here.
Let's do this. Let's add almost a touchdown to the Panthers, and let's bump Atlanta up a couple points as well. Apply the changes there. So we're running a little bit different of a script than what Vegas has currently projected. We're running a Carolina Panther win script with them going over their team total, and with Atlanta, putting up a decent amount of points too. What this does, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, it's just going to enhance the projections to align with what our new projected total is. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So what we're going to do, we're going to go into the sims, and we're going to look for the set of sims where these new team totals are the average. And then we're going to take what players scored on average in that subset and make those the new custom projections. So it's really cool. The best part about this, the reason I like adjusting team totals so much, is that you don't have to think about how does this affect every individual player, right? You have your own game script. Let us handle how the individual player projections change. And you can see that here, right? I mean, right off the bat, Mariota gets a 1.5 boost at his captain projection. PJ Walker's actually getting a pretty significant boost here, almost 4 points. So it simplifies that process quite a bit.
So Jordan, can you talk through real quick? I don't know if I've asked this question, but how are the projections updated when I'm making a change here? Like if I changed their score to, and I'll change this back, but I've never done this actually. Let's just say 100.
Yeah.
Like we're playing Madden. My son, actually a funny story. My son bet me I couldn't put up 100 on Madden the other day, like 5-minute quarters. And
you get it done?
What was it? We're playing last year's Chiefs team. So I kept throwing bombs to Tyreek Hill. Every play it was a touchdown. I think he ended up with like 800 yards, a bunch of touchdowns. But anyways, if I put 100 in there, what's like, is it just going to give me an error, or
it won't error out? So if you do start putting in, so we get questions from people doing this sometimes. If you start putting in like really extreme outcomes in here, like 100 points or even like 0 points, it's going to get a little funky because there's just not enough sims. There's probably no sims where Carolina's scoring 100. So it's doing its best to kind of approximate that.
Gotcha.
You can see Walker's still only getting a projection of like 24 points.
You kind of answered the question that I was getting at there is like, it's not just like a point for point. Like if I'm increasing this a point, it's okay. So it's actually factored into the simulations, right?
Yep. It's pulling in real sim outcomes there. So basically, so now you can see. So these are basically the average points scored in the sims when Carolina's average points scored is 28.3, right? That's basically what's happening here. So
so we adjusted that to give us kind of a new baseline. And then now let's go in and kind of just make our own critiques. What if we do this? So let's go somewhere in between. I want to mainly control the cat. So we got to do this jointly. We'll keep the pool open, for you, but to make my side happy, let's condense, let's dial in our captain pool a little bit. So let's zero them out right here. And now so let's make one big stand. Let's just say, so Mariota was the most popular captain when we first ran that cash build. Let's fade him, but let's bring in PJ Walker. So we're getting nice leverage there. Now give me a player that you like. And let's just limit it to, let's say, 5 captains.
Okay, then right at the top, gotta put Cordell Patterson in there. I love that as direct leverage against Mariota too, especially with the pass. Yeah,
I want upside, so I'm gonna say DJ Moore. I'll throw it back to you. Who are you liking?
All right, I'm gonna regret this at the end of the night. I know it, but Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts. We're both gonna regret it. Let's
208 air yards last week in a game where they didn't even score that much. So it's going to happen.
Stop it. You're killing me.
It's going to happen.
I didn't even look up the air yards. I had so much Kyle Pitts last week. Luckily, JT, so we do the Off to Chalk show on Sunday mornings. JT Hayes, Falcons fan, he's just made fun of me all year for playing Kyle Pitts, and rightfully so. I mean, should definitely be made. Let's do all right. So let's go for upside again. Let's go with how about Drake London? Yeah. So I mean, our producer Simon behind the scenes, that's kind of his sneaky captain play tonight, I believe, if the weather's not too bad. So we got our 5. Do we want to add in one more, or should we just keep it 5?
I'm good with 5. I think this is a good list. This is pretty close to what I'd actually end up with here.
Should we add any rules or make any other changes? Now, we haven't even really gone in here and looked at, I mean, we should probably uncheck Baker Mayfield, right?
Yeah, you might as well. I think he's getting a little bit of a projection there just because there's, I guess, maybe a little uncertainty.
That wouldn't have factored in. But is there any other changes that you want to make here?
So I actually do have one. I think we're a little bit low on Terrace Marshall Jr. at the moment. His projection, we're only getting him like 3 receptions, 30 yards. It seems like this is a guy that they've just decided is going to be a part of the offense. They're just going to force him the ball. I think it was a bit of a squeaky wheel situation a couple weeks ago where he was complaining about not being involved. And I think young guy, I think they kind of want to see what they've got there. So I do like bumping his projection up a little bit. One other guy is Raheem Blackshear, rookie running back. I think, Dante Foreman's been getting a lot of work there, but Panthers aren't going anywhere this year. I think they're interested to see what this guy's got a little bit. He's been getting some goal line carries there as well. So I like a little boost to the projection on those 2 guys.
Okay. All right. That looks good for me. Any rules that we want to add?
I keep it pretty light with the rules in general on Showdown, just because I like having those sim optimals. So I'm fine running this with no rules here. Yeah.
I'm trying to see if, I've had any past rule. Yeah. I mean, it's usually any rules I've made maybe for, I can think of like the Bengals when they're all healthy, like Chase or Higgins is a rule that I would put in there. I'm not seeing that on this slate though. So I agree with you. I don't think we need to add any rules. So let's go run our build. Are we making any changes here? We're still running 500.
I say let's bump that up to 1,500 on the pool
1,500.
size.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And yep. There we go.
Now run.
Let's run it.
All right. Very good. So it'll be interesting to see. from the captains that we selected, what the ownership percentages look like. I do think it's a good route to go when you're looking for upside, which on a slate like this, where we saw it, and it wasn't the cash game setting build, like the defense was higher owned in the captain spot than the other quarterback. So it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it shakes out. And I mean, again, to folks watching, right? We're putting together a game script here that is as kind of like an example. If you disagree, like if you think this is going to be a defensive slugfest or whatever, you can still apply the process that we've been walking through this video and just kind of end up at a different answer. Maybe your captain pool is a little bit different, right? Maybe you're bumping up different guys than I am. The process should still work here regardless of your script.
You 100% use this process, but apply your bias to it. Or as you're watching the other shows that we have, we got the Print Factory show coming up later with Big T, JSU, Tambo, and those guys. Watch that show, take that information, and maybe you like the pass that they're on, and then use this process to, build your lineups. I think that's a really good route to take when using Sabersim and combining it with the content that we're putting out on a daily basis. All right, let's see. We got, hey, look at that. Wait, should I change it to number of lineups 1,500, or do you want to just see the 50 right now?
I think we should just basically assume that we're playing 50 here and just look at the top 50 now and make adjustments from here. So,
all right, perfect. So we got DJ Moore, then PJ Walker, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. Is there anything else that you want me to look at right away, right out of the gate?
So right out of the gate, if I was playing just these 5 guys, like I would probably want to be a little smoothed out with my exposures here. So my man Cordell Patterson is just not popping up here, but there's got to be some lineups in the pool that ended up having him. So I would maybe either bump up his min exposure there. We have 13% in the pool. So, maybe get just 7. That's fine. Whatever. And we made a change here. Oops.
Oh yeah, I forget. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so if you just go back up to the top.
Do it on the main. So my there we go. Apply. Yeah, my screen is zoomed in to make it easier for the YouTube. Everyone watching on YouTube, easier to read. So it's a little bit more difficult. There we go. So now we're getting 7% of him. Let's put a cat. Like I like DJ Moore, but
I agree.
Let's cap it at 35% for any captain. And this is an easy way to do that. So now we're getting Kyle Pitts, DJ Moore, PJ Walker, Drake London, Cordell Patterson. All right. I think let's do a minimum of 10% too.
I like this angle quite a bit. He's also the most expensive captain by like 2,000 compared to the next. I just don't think he's going to be very highly owned coming off the injury too.
Patterson. Yeah,
I think he's going to be pretty unpopular. So I like that angle quite a bit.
Which is crazy because he's an absolute beast. I love a build like this on, unless the wind is going to be crazy. That's where we could consider putting it only one kicker type of rule if we wanted. But if the winds aren't going to be that crazy, then I'm not even going to worry about it. Because this does seem like a game, like we could see points, but we could see a lot of field goals too. So I don't want to necessarily fully ignore the kickers there. We've seen many Thursday night games where the kickers are definitely optimal. So I think I'm going to leave that rule alone for now. But I like these Cordell Patterson captain builds. Those are real nice.
The other thing too, we had a question in our Discord about it today. The sim does take weather into account. You may still disagree. You may think we're not taking it into account enough tonight, and you want to fade the kickers. That's fine, but it is already kind of baked in there in the sim. So keep that in mind.
One thing I wanted to see. So our big stand was fading Mariota in the captain spot, getting over on PJ Walker, and then obviously the playmakers too. But I wanted to see how many double quarterback builds that we had. So we're getting in all of our PJ Walker builds, we're getting Mariota in 8 of them. So just about half. So nice exposure there to double quarterbacks. Which is real interesting. And if we see, for this type of build to work out really well, we definitely need to see points. We need to see PJ Walker, run the ball like we saw last week, which, man, this is going to be such a good spot for that to happen. So a build like this, where we're leaving salary on the table too, is definitely one that I could see being optimal. Here's another one as well. Maybe find one with the Patterson lineup in there too. Or let's see if he did make double quarterback. Are you seeing Cordero?
I'm not. And again, so I mean, honestly, this might be a good situation too, and we don't have to do it for this particular example, but it seems like, just based on his current projection, that the Sims don't like him that much. That might be another guy that I go back actually to the home
and bump up a little bit.
Yeah, just so I'm getting him a little bit more organically into these builds here.
Let's do that real quick. I just want to see, and we'll run like 500 just for time sake, but let's just bump him to 15.1. Because his price tag is up there at 11.8. I mean, he's all right. He's the most. So we might need. What do you think? Maybe 15.8, 15.9,
so
something like that.
That works. Yeah, I think, and just see where we're at. I mean, I typically, it's interesting because we're already bumped up the team totals here, so it's hard to know exactly where to put him. But something like that should work there.
Yeah, I like that. See how long this takes. If you haven't yet, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Helps us out a ton over here at Rumpier Sports and at Sabersim. And yeah, man, I like the speed too. Speaking of speed, so I should make one comment. Yesterday, everything went smooth. I don't think we had any reported problems over here at Rumpier Sports. If you saw we posted multiple messages, made the upgrade in transition to a new server, new platform. Everything went smooth. We had an insane amount of volume traffic yesterday too, right at lock. So we absolutely love things we absolutely love to see, because that's been a problem that we've been working on for quite some time. So, and then with Saber, I mean, man, running those builds, I love how fast that's looking as well, Jordan. So awesome job that you guys are doing over at Sabersim.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and we did. I mean, we added some reinforcements, I guess, to stabilize the app on our end a little bit as well yesterday. So should all be quite a bit smoother here going forward.
Yeah. So all right, I put in the 10% floor there, and let's cap this. What would we say? 35.
Yeah, I think that's good there.
35. So those changes. So yeah, this looks very much in line with kind of like how I build for Showdown. Like if I'm running 50 to 75 builds, which is perfectly fine. Like only if I'm like, if I'm running hot, feeling good, the bankroll's feeling good, then I'm going to max out these slates. But if I'm not like super confident on a slate, or maybe I'm not running that hot, I dial back. There's nothing wrong with playing 25 builds, 20 builds, or focusing on those 20 max tournaments too. So we talk about that each and every week. You don't have to max every single thing. I mean, the guy so we had an RPS solo ship, I think, what was that, Monday night? I think that guy ran like 5 builds or something. Absolutely insane. Had $100 and some in play and won 500K. So
amazing.
I mean, that's like the dream right there, isn't it? Like the absolute dream. So shout out to the member who did that. And all it takes is just getting a little bit different. Like Cordell Patterson, this dude has absolute slate breaking upside. He could definitely be the optimal, like he definitely could, with how he plays, with how hard he runs, and his price is going to cap his ownership tonight. We're already seeing it because we bumped his projection up, and he's still not hitting. I mean, he hit 18% of our pool, and we did a pool of 500, and that was after making a really big bump to his projection.
Yeah, I love it. I don't think anybody's going to play him. I think the salary and the where he's going to be projected by, I think, most projection systems, I just think he's going to be a pretty unique captain there, and a guy that has obvious upside. So that's probably my favorite angle that's jumping out here to me so far. Yeah,
I like that over here. We're getting a lot of Mariota too. So I know we don't, our stand was fading him in the captain spot. That doesn't mean we don't like him. We just know he's going to be popular in the captain, and we want leverage. We're still playing him in our script where there's going to be points. We're still playing him at a high clip in the flex spot. So I like that. I like what I'm seeing here with DJ Moore and then PJ Walker. So it looks like we're now getting a good amount of double quarterback builds, which I think in this situation we would like, given the matchup and everything. And actually, I'm kind of curious. I don't have this on top of my head. I'm wondering how the quarterbacks did in the matchup that they had last time. So yeah, okay. PJ Walker put up 20 DK points, and let's see, Marcus Mariota put up 24. So yeah, it definitely could be a spot where we see the quarterbacks do well. Do you have any other thing that you want to look at? With this step 3 here.
So we do have a couple. It looks like there's a couple quick questions that have come in chat. So I just want to touch on a few of these. So first of all, there was one question about adjusting exposures while filtering. There's no way to do that at the moment. When you're adjusting exposures, you are adjusting them throughout the entire lineup set, not just your filtered lineups. That's been a pretty popular request for us. Something we do want to build in the future. It is kind of a challenging technical problem for us to solve there on the back end. So that's something that's hopefully coming in the future. And then there was someone asking about how to create a kind of basic rule here on a main slate. I'm thinking maybe, if you don't mind, AP, if we just jump over quickly to the main slate, and I can show how to do this here. So the question was basically last week trying to create a rule so anytime you have Kirk Cousins, you have Justin Jefferson. We can make that real quick here, and the Vikings are on the main slate, so we can actually do that exact same thing.
Man, Simon, we're gonna have to talk after this. I forgot my Chiefs were on the main slate. I would have loved to break this down. just kidding. All right,
it's a good game
I got
too.
I got the main slate pulled up. What do you want me to do here, Jordan?
So let's open up lineup rules on the right-hand side here. And there's 2 ways to do this. I'll show you the simple one first. So let's add new rule.
Okay.
And we'll make it a group rule in this case.
All right.
And this one we're going to do we're very simple. We're going to do a manual rule, and we're basically just going to say change where it says use to if.
Okay.
And we'll say if in the primary players, let's put Kirk Cousins in. So I think the easiest way to do this is just filter by the Vikings. That little filter icon. Yep. So we'll put Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
And then click on the secondary players box. Yep, you got it. And then say Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
And this is the simplest version of this rule, right? If Kirk Cousins is used, have to use Justin Jefferson. Very simple. So you could save this, go on your way, start building lineups. Now, if you wanted to do this in a more generalized way, which I think a lot of people sometimes kind of want to do, is like, I have a, certain receiver I want always grouped with my quarterbacks. You could actually create that as an automatic rule, which is pretty cool. So let's open up lineup rules one more time here.
Okay.
And let's say group again, and this time we're going to do an automatic rule. So in selection,
automatic. Yep.
And let's change use to if again.
All right.
So, okay. So what we're going to do is if at least one primary player is used, and we'll say positions.
Just
QB,
the quarterback, right?
Just the quarterback. Yep. You've got it. Then we're going to use at least one secondary player, and that's correct, on the same team. Let's do only wide receiver and tight end here.
Okay.
And then let's add a stat requirement, and let's say my projection, which will be all the way at the top. You might have to scroll. I know your screen's all zoomed in. Yep. My projection greater than.
Should we say 10?
I would say, we could even do like 15 and say like we want an elite player paired with them.
Perfect.
And then let's scroll down here so we can get that saved. I would actually save this if you hit that little down arrow as a manual. So we can just go look at these real quick. And then click save as 21 manual rules. Yep, you got it. And then we'll give this a second to load here. So now you can click that little you've got it all figured out now. So now this is going to basically create that rule for like all of these different quarterbacks. And not every quarterback is going to have a guy that is projected gretter than. So Trevor Lawrence doesn't have a wide receiver over 15.
Right.
But
so if we went to let's see,
probably Mahomes would be a good one. Or Dak would work.
CeeDee Lamb,
so if Dak got to play
CeeDee Lamb,
Yep.
Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
And you could
Another
reduce that projection floor. Like if you wanted to do 10, you're going to get more players included in there. You don't have to do 15. That was just an example.
Yeah.
But
and the other way, the other thing on main slates that you can do is stack types. So this is something that we did last week. We went through here. We knew that, we QB +1. We are fine with QB2, run it back, QB1, 2 run backs. I always like doing this QB2. I think that's probably fine, and we can, so this is another way to ensure that you're going to get some natural correlation in there as well. Since we had this up, we're definitely going to have to, we're definitely going to have to run something. I'll make sure everything is already updated. Let's just see what,
see how it's looking.
We haven't changed really any projections. We've just added a couple rules. What settings do you want to use?
I think, default 20 max, maybe greater than 50K or something like that on the entrance. Because a lot of those NFL contests are big, and 500 lineups is fine. We'll just see what things are looking like here.
Yeah, I haven't ran a build yet for the main slate. So at least I don't think I have. This is the first one.
I haven't looked a ton at it. I think it's actually going to be a pretty good slate. It seems like there are some pretty good game environments. The big question mark is if Josh Allen plays, I think, changes the slate quite a bit, whether he's in or out, but should be interesting. I
think we have a little bit of time too. I can go and look at I can show you the 150 I ran last week. I should have that up. So Jordan, this is so painful. So in NBA, I love going back and looking at my builds from the pool I ran and then sorting it by actual score.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, it's usually very difficult. Like you'd be surprised. You're not like, you think, oh, you're running 1,500 builds. You're definitely going to have the winner in there. Not always the case, but the last few days I've had a build that has surpassed the optimal, but the winning lineup by quite a bit, big margin. So, and honestly, it's always painful to go back and see that.
It is, and I think we sometimes get questions from people. If you have the nuts in your pool, or like if you have the optimal in your pool, you were really close. Like you should be proud of that, and definitely don't expect that you're going to have that every single slate, because 500, 1,500 lineups is actually just a drop in the pond of all the lineups that are out there. So,
oh wow, we're getting. Look at this. We're getting Matt Stafford, Ellinger, Rodgers. Whew.
Yeah. And so this is where this gets interesting. So I think part of that is you got to be careful about the way your rules interact, right? So we created a rule where we said, for these given quarterbacks, you got to pair a high powered pass catcher along with them. Matt Stafford's cheap. He's 5,600 and he's got Cooper Kupp, who's projected for 25 points. So I think the builder in this case is kind of seeing that and saying, hey, here's a way we can satisfy that rule and do it really cheaply and get some of these other players into the lineup. So obviously, you'd want to iterate, maybe you go back and bump Stafford's projection down a little bit or something like that. But
you can look. Yeah. The other thing too, is we could, we could pull in, I guess. Yeah. Only, is there a way to see the, I guess pool. We could, pool. Okay. So it's because it's probably wanting to, Kelsey. So that's why, so there probably would need to be some changes to that rule, because Mahomes to Kelsey builds are going to be very difficult to come by this week because of
there's not a lot of
value there. Yep. Yeah. That's crazy.
Real quick. So let's also let's do the min uniques thing, because this is just so cool, right? So you might be looking at this and think 75% Stafford. That's way too much. Let's start bumping up that min uniques, maybe like 3 or 4, and just kind of see, right? So you can see it's going to naturally start diversifying your lineups by making sure every lineup in your pool has a certain number of players different from each other. Let's bump it to 4 and see 5. 5 is perfect. Yeah. 5. So now you can see, right?
So now it's bringing in,
naturally getting that diversity there. And you can do this by adjusting player projections or exposure. That's fine too. But this is just like a very easy, nice way to diversify a lineup pool. If you run into the problem we just had, or you run it and you're like, wow, 75% Stafford, that's crazy. Well, you bump up your min uniques a little bit. 40 looks a lot more palatable here, and we get pretty diversified.
Let me go back and look at last week's just to get your take on where I ended up. Let's see this. I think all the settings should be, let's see, main slate. I don't think I made any. Yeah, so I was locked in, and so you can see up here how many different times I'm running it. I mean, quite a bit. So yeah. I like to tinker, but this was my final, I believe. Is there a better way to see it?
I don't think so.
Where I finally ended, like what my final. I think this is what I'm just trying to. Yeah, this looks about right.
This looks like the last build you ran. It looks right to me here. Yeah.
So yeah, this would have been. So what I was talking about.
That's a hell of a lineup right there at the top. Oh, you were sorting by actual. Gotcha. Okay. I was like, wow, that was pretty good.
I would have to. I was thinking that it would have saved like in the entries tab, but maybe not.
Yeah, it should have. It's hard to say.
Because I can't remember what So what it was one of these, and then I locked it in, and then I was good to go. And then I think sometimes I'll mess around with it just a little bit more, but I was very high on the Jets defense. That was a big stand that I made. But you can see here I'm running 1,500 and everything. So dang, I was hoping I would have my actual entries in there, but I don't think that was the case. I'm trying to just go through here and see.
And honestly, the thing that comes to mind, it's possible that after some of the issues that we had, that the entry files aren't there, but.
Yeah, so when I'm sorting by actual, but 914 was so this was so I ran a couple more, but I built I built my 150 off of this. I'm sorting by actual, so it would have been by Saber. And then I know what I did was I capped Ramondre. I think I had him at
60.
Okay, no, so yeah, 60. So yeah, this looks about right. But what I was doing then is later on, so I sorted in this pool of 1,500 by actual, and this build right there would have been the stone nuts. 274.8. It was the field, and the problem was, and so it was crazy. And I actually thought about this at the very last second. It was the Cole Kmet, because I didn't like tight end at all, and I just never. All I had to do was go back and bump him up a little bit to get that correlation there, because you'll see. Let's see. Let me type in Kmet. You'll see he only landed in 1.6% of the entire pool. So 24 out of the 1,500, but that he was the ticket to a build that just would have absolutely, lapped the field. So obviously hindsight's 2020 and whatever, but it's always fun to go back and look just to see what your top project or your top actual score was in your subset of builds that you made. So really nice feature over at Sabersim that you guys have.
Yeah, I like doing that too.
So yeah, any final thoughts, for the Showdown slate tonight, for just like anything in the horizon that you guys are working on, building out, any new features, final thoughts, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, not a lot right now. Obviously excited for the game here tonight. I posted a message in the Sabersim channel in the Run Pure Discord the other night as well, just saying, we're continuing to focus on making things stable and making things fast. That's our big push, is making things as usable and as quick as possible. We all know how important those last few seconds or minutes can be sometimes playing DFS. So that's a priority for us, but not a lot else on the horizon. So.
Yeah, no, and same with us. We're constantly now. We have a consultant that we've brought on that's very savvy in the tech world. Obviously, that's not me, Tony Hoop, and our kind of specialty. But we're slowly building our education level up a little bit on the website of things. So things are definitely coming along. Should be smooth based off the report that we saw last night. So definitely things you love to see. And hopefully. So my takeaways for tonight for the Showdown slate, keep an eye on weather. Let's, if people always love to like overstate it a little bit. I think I only get concerned when the winds are way, way, way up there, or if it's raining really hard. Outside of that, if we're only seeing 15-mile-an-hour winds, I think the passing game is fully in play here. So especially someone like Cordell Patterson, who can do it on the ground, do it through the air as well. And then DJ Moore, I just think, man, the dude is athletic. The dude is talented. They got to find ways to get him the ball. So I like the path that we're on tonight, Jordan.
I agree. It's Kyle Pitts season. Let's go.
Kyle Pitts, man. One more time. What the GIF, the here we go again GIF. Yeah. Shit. Here we go again. That's what I feel like every time I roster Kyle Pitts. But all right, Jordan, it's that time to get out of here. So if you haven't yet, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. I'm AP. That's Jordan. Simon, get us out of here.